Okay, it's okay. I'm going live.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening and welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the podcast, Bob and Danielle. Here we're to fight CPS and stop taking our children. We're both victims of CPS. We're both have had the worstest luck with CPS. Our cases are different, but we know you all are hurting too. And what the purpose of we're on here for is we hope that we can help you with our experiences and help you get your children back or stop having your children taken back from a very, very vindictive agency.
Mm-hmm.
This agency has been around for a long time, since the beginning of colonial days. And I'm not here to talk about history of CPS, but the child protection system, which I'm referring to all the branches of social services throughout the United States, is posed to protect our children from neglect and abuse and reunification. Instead, they've just done the opposite. They lie, they deceit, they're not transparent, they're very devious, and they will take your children. It's very, 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 very hard there. Now, I want to talk about how you can interact with the three things you can do on our show. One, you can text a comment in, and we'll try our best to answer it.
Mm-hmm.
All we ask, and I have put it up on the screen, is that you identify your name and your city, state, or country, and be complete with your CPS case. What I mean by complete, it's best if you give us all the details at once. Number of children, the ages of children, what you were allocated for, where you're at in your current state, or start from the beginning, and what your question is, and how we can help you do that. Another way is you can interact on this podcast. You can actually call in.
Mm-hmm.
And my number to call in is 626 698 0990. And you'll be able to be put on the speakerphone and be talking live on the show. And that's a great way. A third way is that you can be a guest on the show. Now, a guest means that you have a specific time or date, morning or evening you want to be on. I have 14 shows, 7 days a week. I'm on at 10 in the morning for an hour Pacific Standard Time, and 7 o'clock at night Pacific Standard Time for an hour. The only exception is on Sunday, I start a little bit earlier at 8 a.m. Now, there are events coming up that my son who's graduated from high school that I may adjust the times to accommodate him. That would affect the evening shows. It won't affect the morning shows. And it probably won't affect the evening, but the evening shows I may have to be on a little bit earlier, which may be good for the East Coast people. But anyway, all you have to do is email our producer. I want to thank Grace, who's our producer, arranges this podcast. And you email her at grace@vincentwdavis.com. grace@vincentwdavis.com. And she will gladly help you pick a show that you could be on. She'll give you instructions of how to log on and so forth. And that's a third way. So you either text or you call in or schedule a time. And, it's really important there. How you been, Danielle?
I'm good. Just had some mishaps this morning. My brother was sick. Ended up in the hospital. ER.
Oh, no. Nothing serious?
No, just his stomach bug or something. But he's got other stuff going on, but I'll talk off the chat.
Okay. We have Rosemary Lombardo. My question is, why would my CPS worker ask me how to get?
How she got a private attorney?
I don't know.
What is it? Her business?
Yeah, that's none of her business, first of all. And also,
Right.
she's fishing. She's trying to see if you got an attorney. She's probably fishing.
And especially if you're
got an
being,
attorney, she
she's not
probably
talking to nobody. Like, the less you talk to them, and they start getting worried. Like, they start trying to, when you know how they say no news is good news. Well, in their eyes, if they don't hear you talking, then they start getting shaky. So
Yeah.
you don't have to tell them nothing. I mean, tell them to contact your attorney. If she's got that question, tell her to contact your attorney. I mean, that you don't have to talk to them anymore. Oh, hello. All right.
Well, it looks like we got a call here. This is Bob.
Hi, Bob. This is Carol. I'm looking at your podcast. I shut it off because I called.
Oh, okay, Carol. Carol, where are you from, Carol?
I'm from Indiana, and I do research on court cases. I find the fraud in court cases, and I've seen several CPS cases from the guardian ad litem, and I happen to know a little bit about it.
Oh, yeah. Guardian ad litems.
Wow. Have you heard my podcast before?
Yes, I'm a member of your channel.
Oh, good,
Awesome.
good. Well, then, what, you have a question for us? You have a comment for us? What would you like to do?
I do have comments for people that are going through CPS issues. Make sure that they filed it at the state level. I'm finding that the counties are doing their own thing and really buffaloing some of these parents, and they believe that it's a valid, legitimate investigation when in fact the state never got wind of it. That's a fact. I have it in a case, State of Indiana versus Todd Stiglman. It's a fake CPS report, and they even admitted on the stand that they never sent it to the state. That's verified. That's the best evidence in the world, trial evidence.
So it's got to go to, so when it's filed out of the county, it's got to be filed with the state? That's got to go to the state level?
Yes, it has to be filed at the state. So if they're just doing it at the county level, the state's not getting wind of this. They'll end up getting you to volunteer. They've had people in Indiana volunteer, basically not volunteer, but have to fight them for their children after the fact. This is like the third case I've seen like this in Indiana. Now in New York and Utah and Colorado, I've seen cases where they have extra children in the divorce, and people are like, "Oh, that was a mistake," or the age is wrong. But it's not a mistake. It's on purpose because they actually treat the wife or the parent that's not going to get the child as if they're a ward of the state, is what I'm finding.
Right,
true. And
right.
it gets more than that. But that's the important county thing. If they're doing a report on CPS, make sure that they write the state and get all the information they can to make sure they even registered it with the state.
That's a good idea. That's a good point. That is a really good point. Because
I never really heard this before. This is something new now. You see, in my case, California, I'm in Orange County.
Write that down.
There's LA County and Orange County. Yep. And there's Riverside County, San Bernardino County, all these counties. But it seems like the investigation, when people have a complaint, they call in the county. They don't call in the state.
Right. Because I'm actually looking that up.
They have to take it through to the state. It has to be reported to the state. That's what I'm finding in the testimony I'm seeing. They'll ask the CPS worker or Department of Children's Services worker, did you report it to the state? If it's a no, they love that because the people that what I do is I look at court cases for fraud in their process. So, and that's what I do, even with lawyers that I work with lawyers, that if the lawyer's not doing their job, I will tell my client he's not doing what he or she's not doing what they should be doing for you.
Well, the lawyers, are you talking about the court-appointed lawyers or the professional family law?
Any lawyer, they have a duty to defend people if they're appointed.
Right.
They have the same duty as another lawyer, so they need to be doing a good job by you and not in the benefit of the guardian ad litem, who's the most powerful person in the room.
I have a guardian ad litem that I'm dealing with my son. And they with my son, he has a guardian ad litem, and like this, I don't really know much about him. Like, I've never really got to see him or talk to him much, but I know
They're
he's a big,
supposed to be there in the best interest for your child, but what I'm finding is there's the best interest of the judge. So, like here in Wayne County, Indiana, I have a video on my YouTube channel. It's under Cheryl King, KEIH, and I'm not trying to promote my channel because I just put this stuff out there that I have so people can learn from it.
Okay.
And it's been there a while. But what here in Wayne County, Indiana, the guardian ad litem, what happens is the judge charges the clients, the people that come to court. The judge will charge them, and that's their pay rate. They're really supposed to be subcontracted employees,
right? And they make a lot of.
One second here for a moment. Our call-in one, Rosemary, made some good points. The thing is, Rosemary, you do not talk to social workers. It's the answer is no. Yes, no answers. The more you talk to her, the more she's not supposed to check to see if your toilet's flushing. She has the right to be in your home unless you have a court order.
She's got the private attorney, so she should
emphasize this.
So
but you don't allow them in the room. You don't allow them in your home.
She don't even have to talk to her at all because she's got the private attorney. She needs to just refer to the worker to the private attorney, to her attorney. That if she wants that,
exactly.
Yeah,
instead of have the private. But I'm surprised your private attorney hasn't told you to keep quiet and talk to him or her, whoever your private attorney is, because you don't not have to say a thing. You don't have to let them in your home. That is more of a ruse to get more information to make your life. And I just
Yep.
So I've never heard of that. I never heard of you report to the state instead to the county, the one that brought the charges against you. That's something I'm going to.
In addition, you have to report it. The county has to report it to the state. That's part of the process.
Because isn't there a registry?
Which means you guys are going into county courts and not a state sanction. It's not state okay, because that's part of the problem. I know for a fact they're doing it here in Wayne County, Indiana. I have it in a court case. They asked the question, did you send the investigation and report to state? She said no, and he said good. He said good. Now, why would there's not a child in this case? You understand? This is this could be an immigrant. This is just a shadow docket's what I called them in 2012. But this is just there's not a child in this case to be doing this with. So why is there a CPS report about a young man when there is no such child in this case? They've got somebody in there that's the name holder, that county report, and it's not being reported to state, just like the protection orders aren't. That's what I found. So
Georgia's a mandatory report state.
They're legitimate investigations because they're not.
Wow. So is it kind of like mandated reporting, like a mandated reporter, or is it? Because in Georgia we have.
They're mandated to turn it into the state, so the state knows what the counties are doing.
Okay.
And there's a number that usually is on the investigative report. You can write in under the Sunshine Act or Freedom of Information Act and ask for the report according to the form that I'm seeing.
So I'm wondering if that's.
Looking at documents. I'm not looking at. I know the people. I've interviewed the people. I know there's not a child in this.
But so I have a complaint from
protective report, and they are saying, well, they said that was a mistake. They wouldn't have testified about it if it's a mistake. They're letting on like there's a child here when there is not a child tied to this report. Well, there is. In a way, there's a teenager. But I think it's more to put him in line with what they wanted him to be a part of. He doesn't even know that he's being led into this in trial testimony. But there's not a child that's been abused in this case, but there's a false accusation, and it didn't make it to state, so they couldn't be detected throwing out false charges against people.
So how do you combat this? I mean, I'm in California, which is a pretty heavy state.
You need to write first. You need to write your the state office and make sure that they have one with your county. And that's one way I can think of to combat it. I just found it, and I just did the report. I just turned it in 3 days ago, and it's hitting the fan around here. Everybody's a little bit freaked out about it because, they're all in trouble for this. They can't do
that's
this.
Like when I contacted the senator for Georgia.
Your entire life, your child, And those guardian ad litems are the most powerful people in the realm. They're as powerful as the judges. They're called the ruler of the case.
They're say
when there's other actions outside your divorce or your custody.
Whatever they recommend is what the judge usually goes with.
They're going to come after you. The guardian ad litem's behind it. That's what I'm finding.
Yep. And you know, it's so you know, it's funny that because I contacted the senator here in Georgia, and and you know what she's saying, Bob, it kind of is, because that brought attention to the county my case is in.
And really bad. In Georgia, there's a Russell versus Russell, and it's Christian. Victoria Christian Russell had her children stripped from her from the FBI in Tennessee. She wasn't breaking any court order, did nothing wrong. So the Russell family is very wealthy. They took her children 3 years ago. She's done everything possible, and she didn't break any court orders. But CPS came in and they took the children. She hasn't seen them since. In Georgia, it's very prevalent because that's where Trump's having all his court cases. And let me tell you, there's more co-defendants than 18 of them. This whole legal system is messed up. They've got co-defendants on the back of this. They're accusing people of child.
They sent my son to Texas for a placement. They said there was no placement in Georgia for him, and they sent him to Texas. And he's 18 now, and he's in a facility. And I'm working on getting guardianship to bring him back home. And DFCS has never been in my life. They've never had any involvement in my life. My mom passed away unexpectedly, and that's how all this started. My aunt maliciously gave him to the state without my consent or anything. Like, just told him I abandoned my kids.
Wow.
And I never did. Yeah. So, you know, and that was the whole thing. Like, my mom had guardianship of him because I had gotten in trouble in 2011, and we all agreed that the kids were going to go, like, to be with my mom to take care of my son, and we would keep it that way until, just in case in the future, if I ever, you know, ran into a problem again, like got locked up on probation or something, that at least he would be safe. And the judge even said there was no reason for DFCS to be involved, and it's been like that until my aunt did this. So, and this is all just, I mean, I don't know what she was thinking. Maybe she was going to get money or what, I don't know, but this is what I'm and so now my son's in Texas at a facility, and I'm working on, because they never contacted none of my family. My other aunt is helping me get my son home, because they told me like I wasn't the appropriate placement, and that was after the fact. I mean, I'm just like, nobody ever even called us. Like,
I don't even care if you got in trouble, because if you did your time, that shouldn't be a factor.
Yeah, right. They tried to say it was.
When they revised the criminal code, they did a loophole where everybody got caught up in that. And if you'll recall back to your sentencing or when you got in trouble, didn't it seem kind of unfair? Because I'm telling you, that's because what I got charged with, and compared to now, it's way. I mean, I'm like, and it's way. People are being bullied around by the government that we have let go.
Yeah, and I do have to say that, like, with my probation, I'm almost done, but they did try to come at me. And they try to say like that I'm unresolved criminal issues. My criminal issues have been resolved, and I'm in compliance. So they were trying to bring a case from 2011 all the way to say it's been open this whole time, and it hasn't.
Yeah, they bring it forward. They'll bring it forward. So they'll bring it forward from way back when and try to tag on you, and you'll be like, wait a minute, I already did my time here. What? Yeah. And they'll say, well, you broke probation. They're not telling you that they put you on lifetime parole when they revised the criminal code. Right. If people look at the criminal code reversion, they're going to find out that and it's in the federal courts right now here in Indiana. There's a guy that's doing a case, because I get all kinds of calls from. I started doing this a while back. I used to do it for houses, and I just started looking at court cases, criminal cases, and they're like the mortgages out in California, the deed of trust. You don't realize that when you sign up for a house, you're going to sign up for 10 times. That one signature is going to give you 9 riders on your back, and you don't realize that.
Right. It's like it. And
they did the same with the court cases. So they'll tie you in with co-defendants for whatever crime you committed. They'll
Yep.
tie you in with light criminals on the
Mm-hmm.
commercial transaction side of this, where they're making their court cases make money for it. I'm not kidding either.
Oh, it's true.
They'll
It's
have
true.
you guilty of everything they can have you guilty of without your knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And they try to, that's why they,
It's a miserable job, but that is what I do. I don't like it that I can see this stuff, but I just did finish my first real report on the criminal side. So I'm real happy with it. I think he's going to get out. He got 76 years for doing nothing.
oh, wow.
Other charge from a previous
Wow.
divorce, and they tagged that on him, and they arrested him and made it look like he never got out of jail because he
Oh,
broke
wow.
probation.
Oh, wow. Because that's, yeah. See, and they do stuff. So, and it's the good ones that are in, that work with it. Like my probation officer, they tried to come at and try to get him to hold me in, like get me in trouble, pretty much violate. And he's like, no, that is on that. You're not, nothing to do. She's in compliance. She's resolved her criminal issues. Leave her alone. You know, what is she doing so bad? I mean, she's not doing nothing. She's not beating her kid. She don't, you know, y'all have her child. She's working with y'all. Y'all are the ones. I mean, they even showed up one day when probation was coming out to visit me and did, what did they have business doing out here too? And they tried to tell me that I had unannounced home visits on a court order. Show me the court order. And that's what probation even told him. Show me the court order.
So you're telling me this, if I stand correctly, if a CPS worker contacts you and they represent Orange County, California, you tell them, I need to talk to the state CPS. I'm right now trying to find the state CPS and I don't find it.
The investigative report should have a number on it. There's 3 forms in Indiana, and it has a number across the top. I wrote the state.
Well, I'm not talking about Indiana. I'm using another example as California. I'm using California as another example because
So it's not,
I'm steering people the wrong way. I'm telling people that, you know, that it's done at the county level, not done at the state level.
County level, but they have to report to state to make it official. If not, they're rogue county members, and they can just take your children. State will never know about it.
Then how do you know if it's reported to the state? How do you know?
By writing the state with the number they have on their report, they better be reporting it to the state. It's in their regulations.
So this number, where is it on the report?
I'm looking at
on the. It should be right across the investigation report with the county. So you need a number. You need to tell them you want the number of the complaint or the.
Because I'm looking at
another thing they do here in Indiana. They list you as the parent, the guardian, and the perpetrator. So you're guilty of all 3.
Yes, they do. And that is true because there it is. They right there, and I'm listed as the parent, the perpetrator, and this was the complaint, and that's not even.
They'll cover up the child's name sometimes. If they don't cover up the child's name, they're going to use that child.
And then it has co-perpetrator.
Now my question is that you have to write? You can't call them, the state?
You can call them. You can call them and do whatever you want. I just wrote them because I happen to know there's not a child in this case. I'm like, okay. They admitted it in court papers too. So it's on there to contact your county on the report. This is a disconnect, I believe. They're not reporting it to the state.
No, and that's why, like John Ossoff, have you caught up with the investigation here in Georgia with John Ossoff? And he's got some of the state. I mean, he's federal, but he's got the state officials involved. And you know, I've been contacted by the constituent service with the state, not with the department, but I mean with the Department of Family, like the state on the state level, though.
Well, which is good. That's a paid position. You can tell them I'm coming in as a constituent. That gives you a little bit more power somehow.
Because I've got.
Because I called up and complained about their legislation.
Because I've got the.
They wrote all this. When they revised the criminal code back in 2014, they tried to make every state line up with federal. So when they did the revision, it's called the amelioration doctrine. It's AMER. I got it. AMEL. IORATION, I believe.
So that
it'll come up to correct it, but it's the amelioration doctrine, and it's a loophole where when they revise the criminal code, they're taking all the parents and the children, the juvenile too, back through this system, and you can't hardly get out of it once you get in it.
Did you see what Truth Movement said, Bob? If the information is not public that you want, asking if it's available, you can submit a FOIA request to the agency's office.
You should be able to ask for, you're allowed to defend yourself. If not, you're denying you due process. You should be able to ask for the report number.
So there's
a number on the front of the report. And you should ask for that report number and write the state and tell them you want all the information on that you can get. They can redact if they want to. I saw a lady's case in Washington, D.C., and it was like Washington and California is where they all join with Dakota somewhere. So there was a lady who had 10 children. And the first set of children, there were 4 of them. Her husband died, so she let the parents, the father, have the children. Well, then after that, her name's Melissa. They were taking the children. I have an 11-hour-old baby crying where they were taking him out of her arms. She just kept giving the kids to CPS. She was a Mormon. And I said, how can they do this? I heard secret tapes of inside the court cases. And sure enough, I look at her report she got back where she wrote the state, and they said that she'd been being complained about for about 5 years. The problem is, it was from her dead mother who had been dead 10 years. Now you want to tell me who's doing complaints on her and taking her children? And then they just they didn't want to hear it. They got into this private side, said we don't want to hear about it, and they think no, but that's the problem with it being confidential. They're committing fraud on
and that's
everybody.
Explained,
under
and
that's going to be confidential. No, they don't. They want to sneak around and take a bunch of children. That's where I think the missing immigrant children are, running through the system.
And with my son, if I popped up and because with my son, they thought that he was abandoned and he didn't have a mom and dad, and here I am. And I fully think that they were trying to they've tried to redact the original, the guardianship order that was between me and my mother, because that's what all of a sudden is nowhere to be found. Why not? They violated the original guardianship order. I mean, and the judge finally wrote it on one of the orders.
Can we break a moment? We have a lot of people that have text comments in. I want to catch up with them on that. I know Lombardo has been texting a lot here. No, please don't. No, don't hang up. Please, I'm just trying to service everybody, and it's important everybody take their turns. But Rosemary was talking about fishing. It took a long time to realize to take her CPS from the helper. She came here and flushed the toilet. Okay, I talked about that. Then we have a new person, Brea Harris. I don't know where you're from, Brea Harris, but they took my baby from me due to domestic violence. But I wasn't getting beat. I was fighting back, honestly, and it was never around our daughter. I have 5 kids, and she's the only one taken. What? And then Rosemary said, that doesn't sound right. They took all 3 of my children.
Right. They should have took all of them. She
says, I am lost. I'm extremely close to my kids. I never abandoned them or abused them. I never been in trouble for drugs. I'm still for you, Brea. You're taking advantage of a very corrupt system. You don't have to be confused. You have to fight. My advice is don't
do your case plan.
Do your case plan. She's telling that to Brea. And then Rosemary said, believe me, I know why my caseworker is on 15 months. Social workers can't find anything bad. They're doing that just for the money. Months. It's a $50 billion business. They're making $20,000 per child per month, keeping your kids in their custody. This lady is in Kern County, and they are so corrupt out here. That's in California, Kern County is. Rosemary said, well, it's good to get a private attorney if possible, and I understand. She further says 3 years. Wow. My daughter is in placement 8 minutes away from me, foster care.
And
I asked for a Mother's Day visit with my only daughter, and the CPS gave me no response. They approached my kids' siblings. Now, I wanted to, the Truth Movement's in. He's been on before. If the information you want is not publicly available, you can submit an FOIA request to the
federal.
agency FOIA office. If you can look that up, Daniel, what the
Yeah, I got you.
yeah, the region of the request simply must be in writing and reasonable to describe the records you want.
Looking at
Truth Movement further says most federal agencies now accept the FOIA request electronically, including by web form or email. Okay, it looks like we have a lot of new information today.
Mm-hmm.
The person we're talking to now is from Indiana, and she has just told something very valuable. I have tried to search where this says the state, where this says the county is required to approach the state of California.
In Georgia, mandated report. It is a mandatory reporting to the state here in Georgia. They have to, and that's on my complaint.
They're broken.
If on the complaint form, if you look at the bottom, it has the complaint's name, which is the. Remember how I asked you the other day, Bob? Why is it the lady, the complaint named the caseworker lady, the supervisor? Well, then it has the investigating officer, but then it has a place up here for on the state level, like that they sign off. State officer right there over the investigating. So
they'll try to direct you to the county. And what I'm saying is I'm seeing a disconnect where they're not filing these county complaints and that people are basically voluntarily letting them push them around.
Right.
You could not let them in your house.
So the complaint.
That's what I see attorneys do anyway. And I'm not an attorney, but I've seen them say, do not let them in your house no matter what. These are bona fide attorneys that I've talked to. They're my friends. And they're like, don't let them in the house no matter what.
Not Bob.
They write them, do not let them in the house. And
Bob, I found that what you're looking for.
They will interview them without you there.
Bob, here. You want this information, Bob, for California for FOIA? I got it right here. I'm coming. I'm coming with it. I'm just
trying to find something.
Freedom of Information Act. It's the Freedom of Information Act. That's what it. Mm-hmm. Yep. Here we are.
But that's not the state.
You can find out, Bob, if they've got your child. Is that the only biological children you two have?
I have 6 children. 3 of them were stolen, trafficking, and 2 of them were returned. My daughter was forced to divorce her parents, to change her name, to seal her birth certificate, and to adopt and foster.
Bob. That's for California.
She's 21 now. This happened when she was 12. Now, I found the thing here called the California.
The little girl that they have now, what is their justification for leaving the other?
I just sent it to you on that website.
Why do they have her?
Who are you talking to?
Bob.
Okay.
Got your little girl.
No. Okay, let me explain to my case. My case started in 2010 with false allegations for 5 years. They didn't take my children. In 2015, they took all 3 children. I tried to fight it for a year. I finally got an attorney, Vincent W. Davis, and he got my 2 boys back. But because the social worker lied and we caught her with her lies, she took revenge against the parents and told our child to do what she did. And so she was too far gone, because what was happening to us as a family is my wife's in-laws were saying the allegations that weren't true, and they're the ones that called for 5 years. And we didn't find this out till later. Right. So anyway, she's 20.
Have you talked to those people? Are you sure it's those people that are making the allegations? Because they can say one thing, and there are. I've seen.
Well, this is the thing is, we know these are the people that made it because no one else would, because there's nothing we've done wrong. And also, one of her sister is a social worker, and she knew what to say. She knew what to do. And her mom abused my wife when she was growing up, and she's been abused. She's been raped twice. Her brother had incest with her, and she had been scolded with hot water and hot coffee. I mean, the list is a mile long. But anyway, we know that it was her parents, her sisters, that were trying to steal our 3 beautiful children. And see, the older children have all been out on their own, so they weren't affected. I mean, they have been affected. Now, since you and I have been talking, I found here called the California Department of Education. It says child abuse identification reporting guidelines. And I'll have to take some time to read that because there's a lot to digest. But what is the name of the agency at the state level? That's what I'm trying to find.
Go to that website I sent you, Bob.
Department of Children's Services, or whatever it is at the county level. It would be for the state. It'd be in the capital usually.
Okay.
So,
did you send that in private chat, Danielle?
Yes. Well, that's the
Okay.
CalGuard, but you have to
That's
put
the
it on
CalGuard, California
but
Military
we got it.
Department.
It'll take you to the. Let me pull up the other website again. Hold on. I've highlighted the wrong one.
That's the Freedom of Information Act with CalGuard.
For the
California Department of Child Protection Services is what it's saying here.
Yes. Yep,
California.
it should be.
I just can't believe I missed that. I just cannot believe that.
Well, they're doing it at a county level, and that allows them.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing protective orders that way too. So I'm finding.
Yeah, here it is, right here.
Disillusion.
You find it?
Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I found it for you. Here it comes.
They're
Public Records Acts requests.
Already had Lightem that's behind it. She has a special.
Yeah, the Garden of Lightums.
For a child.
See, that's crazy.
Okay.
And the Garden of Lightum is they're ridiculous.
We've got this child here, and she's been. They might have an order for a child. They might want a blue-eyed, blonde-headed baby girl, and they'll go out one. They've done it here in Indiana. There's a couple of attorneys that have caught them doing it. Most recently, I was trying to find those cases, but here in Indiana, these people had two of their children taken for no reason at all, and they found out they were doing it at county
Here you
level.
go, Bob. Department of Social Services.
They didn't know about it.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it, Danielle. In private chat.
See, that's
Wow.
crazy, and they're ridiculous. Like, and they have the FOIA with every department in the states for this. So, like, there's the social services website right there, Bob. That the FOIA public records.
Doing that, right? So I assumed that they had
Right.
done it. What I saw in the testimony was an attorney that was actually working for my client, supposedly, but he was going against him. And so when he cross-examined the CPS worker, he almost made her be in the seat of the victim. So this is some kind of a wild case, but it's just complex litigation, and it stems from a divorce. But what they did was had the at-fault divorce and the no-fault divorce. They had it both ways.
Okay.
And they're
but I did just
all over the place. People think they're divorced, and they're not really divorced till the property's settled up, and then they find out. Well, I thought I was already divorced, and now it's like I'm going through a divorce again. I'm answering these questions twice.
Well,
why?
I just read.
Yeah, I'm at the.
But I read this. Well, listen to this. I read the FOIA does not apply to the Congress, the courts, or the central offices, nor does it apply to records in the custody of state or local governments. However, all state governments have their own FOIA type statutes. So I did just read that. That's weird.
Well, the link you sent me is called the Department of Social Services
for California. But this is what I read on the on the government. What information is not available under the FOIA, and that's what it said.
Well, I know
there's subject abuse report. It should say that you have a right to show up and fight that, and it'll tell you the number. And then that's when you want to call. You want to get hold of the state. You want to find out how to get the file and make sure they reported it to the state, because if they didn't, there's a disconnect, and that's not good for them.
Well, let's say they reported to the state. Let's say you reported to the state. The state doesn't do the prosecution. The county does.
Right. But they still have to do an accounting, because they'd have, if they're not, they've got.
Well, I understand that. They may have done that, is what I'm getting at. But the people that do the investigation are the county.
Right.
So
they have to report it to the state to make sure they're in compliance. And that's a good way to help.
So that's
right, is to make sure they're in compliance.
Sounds like why they got this bipartisan investigation going on here in Georgia, because John Ossoff and Martha Blackburn have opened up and it's been going on, and that's an investigation, and they've found.
Wow.
Yeah.
Georgia's black market.
Here's the
now finding out about some of them.
Yep.
Like,
Yes.
found out
Yes.
that they were
Yep.
these babies. They were told
Yep.
their parents they were dead. There was
Yep.
hundreds of them. Yeah.
Yep. And my son got lost in the system as well here recently. Like, I really do believe they were going to do that with my son. Like, there's a report right there, Bob, for the FOIA.gov. That's just the actual like report. It's an HTML document I sent you.
Well, here it says here,
That is right.
the county
Truth movement.
CPS
That's right.
is responsible for investigation, allegations of abuse and neglect, and providing services to family involved in county CPS cases. County CPS caseworkers will work with families to ensure the child is safe and that the family has the resources they need to care for the child. Where does it say the state will do that?
Did you see what the Truth movement said?
Based on the need from the past year.
So
past year tally, they better be reporting it to the state, or you're letting children get through
do
the
you
system
see
that the state doesn't know about, which means they're not in compliance.
so you see what like all of us are saying? Go read what Truth movement said.
And even if it's not true,
Who is unaware of the law may not ever go.
Against these charges,
But a lot of people don't know, right? And the people that don't know about this, they're going to take advantage of it. So the people that, and that's exactly what the Truth movement was just saying.
I get by and not get in trouble, and it'll look like
exactly.
You guys worked it out in this problem-solving court, which actually causes the problem. That's why they call it the family division, so they can divide y'all. That's why they call it the family division.
A person who is unaware may not
divide the family.
Okay.
Divide it.
Well,
there
I got some lots of reading. I got lots of reading to understand this because I do want to follow all these links. I don't want to take it too much of the show time because a lot of people are calling or texting in. I want to make sure that their questions are answered. The Truth says what I'm going to say now. Please do not misconstrue. It's only an example that is written by people smarter than I, supposedly. In the law, ignorance, jurors, not excuses. Latin for ignorance of the law, excuses not. Or ignorance, Latin, more Latin, is no one. What he's basically saying is that you can't use ignorance of not knowing the law. That's what he says.
Ignorance of law, excuses no one, is the legal principle holding that a person who is unaware of a law may not escape liability for violating that law merely by being unaware of its content. So somebody that's not unaware of something, they're not going to know how to fight it.
Yes.
Like, how are we going to know how to?
If you're pro se,
right? And
that pro se Judge Posner quit the profession of being a judge. I talked to him. He told me I quit.
What did she say?
Pro se. So when I go into court, I say that I'm not a lawyer and I'm not going to practice law without a license because I'm not a lawyer and I'm not going to practice law without a license. And I'm going to speak plain talk. And I'm going to try my best to tell them what they're doing wrong, but I'm going to speak plain. I'm not going to speak legalese because I don't know how.
Funny you say that. Right. Because they are going after someone I know for unauthorized practice of law. Wow.
Like, let's say at the county level, you find out it wasn't filed with the state. You got something there that you can work with and say, look, this county worker came in here and they've got our child. We've got one child missing here. We want this child back with us, with her family where she belongs.
Yeah, Bree.
That rogue worker came in and took her, and we want her back. So for whatever reason, that would
Bree said that.
Her for not reporting it to the state. And that's what you need. You need to get your
double jeopardy.
Get all your stuff in order. When you see something wrong with the case, the name misspelled or the birth date, they better be really, really careful because here they're taking
Nunc-pro-tunc. You ever heard of that?
They better be accurate here because if they're not spelling the names right, that is not a mistake. That's a mistaking. It's against the takings clause.
Yeah, it's an error. It's
accurate.
It's supposed to be it voids out. It's no good. The court order should be no good, and that's where they try to pull the nunc-pro-tunc thing out, where they tried to fix their mess ups, and that's what's happening. And yes, the nunc pro tunc is something, and I haven't heard I've seen it, but I haven't heard others speak of it. But that what you're saying, because there's no room for error in these cases. There's no room for not even. I mean, but they try to use but they try to do it. I mean, a clerical error, that should be few and far between. But these judicial errors are ridiculous, and that's what they've done. I've got 3 court orders that got nunc pro.
They are very valid too. When you find out what they're doing behind the scenes, they're doing it on purpose so as to escape any kind of detection.
So, they're trying to make money. The bottom line is they're trying to make their $50 billion
and they try to backdate things
on us as parents. Now you're telling me the state gets the money. Does the federal government give the money directly to the county, or does the money go from federal hands to state?
They give it to the state.
Now, who is the board that supervises the state with that money?
I'm not sure, but I know there's some victim compensation funds that need to be audited. I know that much.
Yeah.
For sure. Because you're really the victim, you and your child. Yeah. And they might even make you that way, but they'll collect the funds in your stead. I can say that and know it. So I know these things because I've been doing it since 2012.
Like my son falls under Title 4D or something.
The people that come to get the child, whoever that person is, that does the paperwork against the parents, they will become the victim, and they will be able to collect those funds. And those funds are distributed pretty freely to all counties.
The person that does the complaint, like the person that takes in the
person that does the victims' compensation funds, they're tied into the prosecutor's office here. So the victims, so if somebody's a victim of a crime, the child, let's say they're saying the child's a victim of a crime, then that child would have compensation coming to it. They're not getting the compensation. They're getting hauled off and put in a mental institution or in a facility somewhere because they don't have homes for these kids. So somebody's collecting those funds. And the person that really
Bob, what she just said,
the parents, especially, I mean, if that, there's people, I'm sure there's people out there that don't need to have their children. But I know there's a lot of people out there more than the ones. I'm telling you that the CPS is off the hook with what they're doing to people. And
what you just said about them taking the kids and then putting them in this facility, that's exactly what happened to my son. That what you just described is the exact scene.
Miriam Blank had 5 children. Her husband was from Israel. He got the judge, and it was a multi-state divorce. She's the one that had extra children in her case, but I know for a fact they put 2 of them in a Utah mental institution, along with another family. The boy's name was Fox, last name was Fox, but Miriam Blank had 5 children. I talked to the 18-year-old when she got out of the mental institution. The 16-year-old had ran away, but she told me, Carol, they kept her name on the door, and they're bringing other kids in and out every night. That's why I think they're running immigrant children through these cases. That's where the immigrants are going, that they're missing the children. They're trafficking children. They're trafficking humans through extradition. They are. It says it across the top of their forms. I had a judge in Florida say, you made an allegation here. We're human trafficking. I said, well, Your Honor, if you just bear with me a minute. I said, look at the top of the form. I said, the form was supplied by the court. And he said, yes. I said, if you want to read it, of course he didn't read it. I said, let me read it for you. It says in all capital letters, TRAFFICKING. That's what it says. You're trafficking. Yeah, it's like the family division. I'm not saying people are dumbed down. I'm just saying people aren't paying attention. The family division will divide your family. They are not there to help you.
Like on this complaint form, on this complaint form, it's like they treated my son as if the police were called and like they filed a report on him for being abusive to my aunt or something. That's the impression I've got from day one, and that's what she said as well. That and my aunt can vouch.
They call him a child in need of services around
here. Yes, Chins, child in need of services. That's exactly that is yes. Oh my God, so it is true. Oh wow. Bob, I just learned something.
Let me
Well, it's
interject.
okay. I mean, if you could catch them at the state, that would be good. I think not reporting it to the state, and if somebody could come in and do an audit.
Well,
like they find out they're doing this with all the.
He's out in Texas now. They sent him to a facility in Texas.
Great.
They sent him to a facility in Texas right now.
That's far away.
Well, not only that, her child turned 18 while in CPS's hands, and they're refusing to let go.
Yeah, they won't. They
He's 18 years old.
So do they have him as an incapacitated adult?
No, but he's special needs.
He's autistic.
And so what Danielle's trying to do, she's trying to get guardianship of her own son.
And they're trying to get guardianship as well. And
CPS is trying to get guardianship?
Yeah. The DBHDD, Department of Behavioral Health, over here.
That is adult. That's not CPS. That's the adult part of social services.
So they don't even have custody of them or guardianship of them. So I don't understand why they're not even letting him.
Custody. They want to keep him. They don't want to let him be free.
Exactly.
Well, they get additional money. They get additional money because of the special needs.
Mm-hmm. And he's out in Texas.
Back a few years ago, they get $6,900 per child that they place. They would pay grandparents and other family members or anybody who was a foster parent, maybe $1,200 a month because I knew some foster parents. So they keep that extra money, and they never did give them the services, because they don't really care. They want to act like, well, our system's broke. We don't know what's wrong. Yes, they do know what's wrong. And if they're supposed to report it to state, they by God better be reporting it to state. And that report that they're putting out on me better be at the state level. And if it's not, I want to know why. What do you have to hide?
Okay.
They can do private adoptions and anything else with your child there if they have your child if they want to.
Okay, excuse me one moment. Don't anybody leave. I need to address the truth movement. He said about 9 things. I need to catch up with him again. It's really hard sometimes to talk to several people at once. The Fifth Amendment breaks down into 5 rights or protections. The right to a jury trial when you're charged with a crime, protection against double jeopardy, protection against self-discrimination. He further says the right.
Triple jeopardy too. There's
triple jeopardy. Okay.
Triple standard.
All right.
Because they took him into CPS court without telling him. They never told him about this charge.
And they never. And I don't even know what I'm being accused of, like the allegations.
And he went to jail and he didn't touch anyone. He didn't harm anybody, and he's in jail for 76 years. I'm not kidding either. For a crime that happened in 1993. This was in 2014. Somebody didn't like him. And by golly, they took advantage of the fact he had teenage sons. They said this or that. I've talked to both of them. They're like, we never said any of those things. And I'm like, well, where's this child molestation report coming from? And they're like, we don't know. Well, I found out that was a trial attorney's file. And it was trial evidence. So at the appeal level, in California, it may be the same as Indiana. There's different reasons for appeals, and it asks you if this is just a regular appeal to get your time lessened, or if it has to do with family court, or does it have to do with co-defendants? I found everything in there. So every kind of appeal he could have had, the trial defense attorneys were privy to. He hired them for $45,000. They took him down the river, and he ended up with 76 years. Now, he's going to get out now because it's in their own test. The trial evidence shows the fraud they're committing on you. If you'll read it a different way, it'll show that they don't have valid allegations against you if you just read it sentence for sentence. Like let's say, for instance, it says trafficking across the top of Florida's extradition papers. That's why I said that they were human trafficking, because their headlines. People don't think to read, or you might look at some of your court cases.
Okay.
Family division.
I got to catch up here. The truth movement, the right to a fair trial, and protection against the taking of property by the government without compensation. It does not apply in civil cases. Even the courts are having trouble with that. 1, as a case plan or a family court falls under
Falls under
civil
civil.
litigation.
Yep.
No state shall make
Yep.
no state shall make or enforce any law which should abridge the privileges of immunity of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of the law, nor deny any person within the jurisdiction the against the protection of laws. 14th Amendment, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor should any state deprive any person, property without due process of the law, not deny any person the jurisdictions, the equal protection of the laws. Do you understand that they are trying to circumvent our constitutional rights by trying to give the children the right do not necessarily self-govern, but where the government can intervene? That's great, Truth. I'm going to take that. I will digest that later. We have right now about 4 minutes left, and I really am excited about this information you're sharing with us. I need to digest
He's
it.
right about that, though, about all the constitutional. If you have a right to liberty, your liberty with your family. There used to be, and I didn't like it, but there was a DOMA that was federal before Obergefell versus Hodges, and anybody can look it up. It's on OYEZ, OYEZ, and it's Obergefell. It's OBERG, ERFELL versus Hodges, and it's the same-sex marriage case. When they did that case, if you listen to oral arguments, you'll see what they're really up to, and they're laughing about it. They're talking about representing all you parents.
I understand.
Your children.
I understand.
That's what they're talking about in the oral argument.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
Well, I want to thank you so much for the valuable information. I mean, you said you've been listening to my show. I'm glad you come forward to talk to it. I want you to talk again because there's so many more questions I have. And I know my listeners have questions too. We have about 3 minutes left here. And I want to thank not only you, the Truth Movement, and there's one other person that
well, thank you for having me, everybody on here.
Thank you.
I hope and pray.
Rosemary, Rosemary and Bree Harris. Rosemary and Bree Harris for joining tonight. I'm very gracious to have these listeners here. And I want to go quickly over rule number 1, which I didn't get any of my rules done tonight, which all my other shows you can hear them. But rule number 1 is you need an attorney. And I can see right now from what I just heard now that attorney is very valuable. And you are out there, you say you can't afford attorney. All you need to do is find in your city and state. And if it's not a big city, list that also, those 2 cities and state, a pro bono family law attorney. And you get a list of them and you pick 10 of them to call. Ask them, are they in business? If they answer the call, then you think they pretty much are. Ask if they fought CPS. Ask if they got their children back. Ask them if they are pro bono for sure. That means they don't charge. And right now, we have an attorney that produces podcasts, Vincent W. Davis. He has 35 years of family law experience. He has fought CPS. He has gotten your kids back. He'll do a consultation for $60 for 30 minutes. $60 for 30 minutes, and he'll talk to you about how to navigate and fight CPS and get your children back. It's really important. I want to thank him on that. Again, I want to thank you all for listening. And, God bless.
I want to say something real quick about attorneys.
Go ahead.
Make sure that your attorneys are doing their job, though. If you see your attorney doing something that you don't think is okay, you're allowed to approach them about that because you are the client.
Well, you're paying them. You're paying them.
Yeah. Make sure that they're doing it right and they're getting all the evidence and that's good for you. Make sure of that. Because
a lot of them felt
jail for 76 years for nothing.
All right.
Wow.
That's a fact.
All right. Well,
Well,
Good
thank
night.
you.
I'll see you all
you.
at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning,
Thank you.
Pacific Standard Time. Again, thank you. This is Bob Danielle signing out.